Hey YouTube, welcome to the Super Lorcana world. It is your one-stop shop for everything Lorcana, and we have a lot of news over the weekend that took place. And instead of making one extremely long video, we're going to break it up throughout the course of this week and cover everything that happened, because I think that's pretty cool. We're starting here with the PPG event, the one in Miami. 50 players played, and these are the top 8 decks of what was played, which is really cool. We're going to discuss the meta implications of this, discuss the cards used, and all that fun stuff. If you like this content, please like, comment, subscribe. We're inching near 2,000 subscribers. We'd love to get there. With that out of the way, let's see what we have here. We have Emerald Amethyst winning an aggro deck. This is the second big PPG event where an aggro deck won. Ruby Amethyst is really good, and as you can see, it came 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 7th, taking up half the top 8 here. Definitely a really, really good deck. However, sometimes aggro just gets there. You know, sometimes it does, and nothing you do about it. Seriously. And the other decks here include Emerald Sapphire, which is actually a really cool deck list. And we have 2 Amber Steels. So, honestly, a nice mix. Once again, Amethyst remains the ink that has the most presence in top 8. Amethyst is really good. Let's just look at this first place list here. No, it's a little bit sideways portrait mode because people don't know how to take pictures and upload pictures and all that fun stuff. But you can see we've got the 4 Pot of Greed here with the 4 Maleficent, right? And it also has tools to out-aggro-like matches, such as the Rafikis here. You kind of can't see them. You got the Olafs here for the turn 1 Lilos and turn 1 Maleficents. You even got Befuddle. And then you have bouncing cards like the this thing, the Mother Knows Best, and the Genie. And then the rest of your cards are just good cards. Jasper's a bit of a control card, but the rest are just good ink. Good lore, good everything. Like 3 ink, 3 lore, 3 lore, 3 lore. Like, that's huge, right? Starting as soon as turn 4 if you wanted to do that, right? So, like, this deck can definitely get a win before an opponent can drop a Be Prepared, which is probably one of the reasons why this deck ended up winning and going through all those Ruby Amethyst, because it has the ability to do that, and it's not very hard. It just sometimes you high roll and that's all you need to do. That's it. That's the first place deck. It's an aggro deck. It's fast and it beats out the Ruby Amethyst. You know, if it rolls high enough, which obviously it did. Now let's talk about one of the 4 Ruby Amethyst decks. This was the one that went to the finals, and it's got what appears to be some standard stuff in here now, like freaking 3 Magic Mirrors, Befuddles, the freaking Cauldrons, and the red shields here, the Shield of Virtue. Also on 3 Goofy, 3 Maui, which is super interesting, but, you know, that's fine, whatever. And really interesting here is Zeus. This Zeus just has a Challenger, I believe, right? Or Rush. So, like, this Zeus here is just very powerful, and it can attack things right away. It's like having another Maui, just not as big. And you know, I appreciate that. Also, not to mention this guy is playing the little Elsa as well, which could be really cool to shift into big Elsa a little bit sooner to help with decks that could be a little more aggressive, like Emerald Amethyst, for instance. You know, can't do anything to Cusco, but it can do things to the Mad Hatter and the Hans and all that stuff. So all in all, this is a very good second place Ruby Amethyst deck, and I'm not surprised it went all the way here, and you'd love to see it. Now, something I'm excited about is this Emerald Sapphire deck. We saw no Sapphire in the top 8 last tournament, and ironically, I think a lot of people associate Sapphire to Ink Ramp, right? Because you got your Mickey Mouses, your One Jumps Ahead, your Bells, and it's just a big ink payoff ramp deck, and it works. And sometimes it does. But this deck had a different approach on it. It is also an aggro deck. It is trying to get there with the 4 Hans, the 4 Cusco, and the 4 Mad Hatter. As well as Cheshire Cats and Flynn Riders for early questing value as well. But that's not all the deck tries to do. It plays the Aurora that gives all your dudes ward. So if you drop 2 Auroras on the board, they have to Be Prepared, or they can't really answer your board. Except through challenge, if you let some stuff be challenged. And besides that, another good tool is to Let It Go. I honestly think this is one of the best removal cards in the first set, because it just sticks it into ink. Doesn't destroy it, makes it unaccessible from things like the magic brooms and party worlds and all that stuff. So I like that this was the first iteration of Sapphire to top a major event, or major events. Again, I said this disclaimer in the last video, and I'll say it this time. These are the biggest events that we're gonna get right now. 50-person event. You know, eventually we'll have events with 200, 300, 500, maybe 1,000 people if Ravensburg wants to stretch that high. Eventually we will. But until then, this is fine. And one last thing I want to note here was the eye. The eye that gives you an extra lore when you quest once per turn is pretty cool. Also, shout out to Floor Flounders. I'm sure Jared would really like that. I'm sure that gets him really excited. And yeah, let's move on. This is the 4th place deck. Definitely a different way to show it. But this is a Amber Steel Stitch deck with freaking 2 Stitch and 4 Rapunzel. Of course. Rapunzel's crazy. But it also plays a lot of control cards. Like, it has smashes. It has You Have Forgotten Me in terms of discarding cards from the opponent's hand. Got a Whole New World, Grab Your Swords, draw power here. We got some Beasts to destroy some items, some big Tinkerbells, 4 of them. Yeah, makes sense. We have the little Stitch at 4 of, the little Simba is 4 of, the 4 Lilo, so you get your turn 1 combo for Lilo, Simba, turn 2. You could do that. Also plays a little Simba, the steel one as well. Lets you loot when you play it. And anything else here? Just good challenger aggro stuff. Good against aggro decks. Beat that stuff over. It's just a little less on the Stitch, but nonetheless, it's a Stitch aggro deck. That's a little more on the control side. And I think you'd love to see that. I think it's good to take different iterations of Stitch. Because Stitch is crazy, and I'm not surprised it topped a major event. Okay, we have Ruby Amethyst for 5th, Ruby Amethyst for 6th, and Ruby Amethyst for 7th. Okay, things to note between these 3 decks here, okay? There's different ratios on different cards. For instance, this guy played 6 1-drops. This dude did not play 6 1-drops. And this dude, how many 1-drops are there? 4. So, like, different cards in different situations. For example, Pongo. Pongo, this guy is playing Pongo. I've never seen Pongo in Ruby Amethyst, honestly. It's just not a thing I've ever seen. We've seen Goofy. Goofy seems to be the thing that people are leaning towards for good old wholesome power evasive stuff. But, like, we saw Pongo. This guy is not even on any of it. He's not even doing anything. He's not doing an evasive high guy at all. He's just like, nah, I don't need it. It's fine. We got big Ursulas instead. Something that people are tapering off as the meta goes. You know, not a lot of people are doing the Ursula anymore. That's fine. This guy's even playing a low kill count. 3 Be Prepared and 2 Dragonfire. That's pretty low. That's a small number here. Where you take this one, he's on 4 Be Prepared and 4 Dragonfires. And then we got this guy here who played 4 Be Prepared and 4 Dragonfire. So there's definitely different approaches to this. We've got even 2 Magic Mirrors, 2 Magic Mirrors, 1 Magic Mirror. This is actually super interesting to me because I'd never even consider playing less than 3. I'd never consider it. But these guys here are seeing success with their 1-ofs and 2-of Magic Mirrors. So it just goes to show you that there are multiple ways to build this deck, multiple ways to kind of pilot this deck. You know, there was a comment section on my Ruby Amethyst deck profile where the guy said basically, you know, grind Pixelborn, build a real deck. This deck sucks. And like, if every deck is different, how's that a fair gauge? You know what I mean? Plus, of course, I haven't grinded Pixelborn, and I'm quite high up in Pixelborn, so that guy is just off his rocker. But, you know, not to like toot my own horn or anything, these people obviously have more recognition to them, and that's fine too. Not a big deal. These people want to go to Miami and play the cards, and that's good. But yeah, I rambled there for a second. These are your top, your top 4 Ruby Amethyst decks, and you got just different approaches, different card choices, and honestly, it's fine. It's honestly okay. And the last deck today, the 8th place deck, is not a Stitch Amber Steel deck. It is not. This is more of like a Princess Control Amber Steel deck with your Moanas here. This is the first time I believe Moana's had a top placement in a tournament. Moana. I always knew that card was good. It's nice to see someone do it. Got Moana's here. You got the Rapunzels, the Cinderellas. You got the Ariels. She's also a princess. You got enough princesses in here to make Moana kind of worth it and get you that extra lore when you want it. Not to mention he's playing a whole slew of removal, like the Hakuna Matata. He played Hakuna Matata. The Smashes, the Party Your Swords, the Fire Your Cannons, the 4 Tinkerbells. and the 3 beasts for art items. And then he's got his 4 drops of evasive dudes, or sorry, not evasive dudes, challenger dudes. And there's Hans for removal as well. This is just a control deck. It's not an aggro deck at all. And that's something that really syncs well with me, and something I mentioned like at the start of the game. There will be multiple ways to build 2 ink pairs in this card game. You can play Stitch Steel and aggro and go fine, or you can play a slower, more control variant that could make it harder for like an aggro deck to really pop off, or something that can get you kind of into the grind game with Ruby Amethyst. It is just what it is at the end of the day. And yeah, that's it for the top 8 decks for the PPG event. Honestly, we got one more. I think we got 1 or 2 more of these PPG events coming up. I know Ohio's at some point, that one I'm going to, I think. And it's pretty cool, and you love to see it. You love to see how this stuff just kind of happens, right? You know, last tournament, there was no Sapphire on the top, and now there is. You know what I mean? Amethyst still remains the most popular ink. That's just kind of how that goes. And Ruby Amethyst now taking a much more dominating lead. Last tournament, it only took 2 spots top 8. Now top took 4. And I believe the Tampa event had even more than that. I think. Maybe. I could be wrong on that. But we'll find out when we do deck lists for that at some point. That's it. You know, I love the variation here. Yes, there were 4 Ruby Amethyst decks, but besides that, the rest of the decks were all different. And the modifications within every Ruby Amethyst deck as well made it like a true spectacle to see. Like, you guys can try whatever you want, and it might work. If you have the skill to pull it off, it might get you there. And it might allow you to top a major event, like these guys have. And these events are just the gatekeeper to get the game going, because, you know, it's going to be cool to see what happens once we actually have official events from Ravensburger. It'll be a good time. But yeah, that's it for today. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I will see you later. Bye.